Hello, and welcome to the Freedom Speak podcast, the mouthpiece for Freedom Speak International, an organization built for and by the immigrant community in Canada to articulate and amplify issues that matter to them. Today, we are privileged to host Mr. Kawuki Mukasa, a priest, a theologian, and an author. Welcome to the studio, Mr. Mukasa. But before we
Thank you
start,
very much.
we welcome, invite, and promote free speech, but within the confines of the rule of law, respect for oneself, respect for others, and individual responsibility. So we're going to start by me asking you to introduce yourself, give us a background of yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you're doing currently, and maybe talk a little bit more about your writing. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Wanja, for inviting me to this podcast. My name is Kawuki Mukasa, and originally from Uganda. I've been here in Canada for 40 years now. And I am a theologian. I'm a priest, an Anglican priest, but also my training is in philosophy as well as theology. And currently I'm a retired priest, although I have been invited back to lead a congregation in Brampton, Ontario, called St. James the Apostle Anglican Church. In terms of my writing, I have been writing since I was 15, since the day I wrote an article and sent it in to an editor of a newspaper, and it was published. And I was so excited. I have not turned back since then. Although the other pieces that I sent in were rejected, I have been writing since then. And from now, I have 4 books, most of the 3 of them self-published. And recently, actually today, I'm launching my latest book.
Yes, congratulations about the new book. And I would say interesting that you should talk about writing from an early age. I should say that I am a journalist and I've been writing ever since I learned how to hold a pen. So I think about writing like it's a calling. It's like being a priest. Once you
Absolutely.
start, you never stop.
You
You
can't
keep
stop.
writing and you keep writing because it is in you. It has to keep
Yes.
coming out and keep coming out and keep coming out. You can't stop.
Yes.
So tell me about the book that is launching today.
Well, the book, the title is Cosmic Disposition, and then it has a subtitle, Reclaiming the Mystery of Being in the World. And it is a book that tries to answer the question, who are we as a species? A question that has been asked by us as a species for almost 60,000 years. But I think this is a very important time to re-ask the question because of the emergence of artificial intelligence and the possibility that we are beginning to recognize that we might be a transitional species. And so preparing the way or looking forward to perhaps the next generation of species. So this question I thought would be necessary to ask at this point. And so the book is trying to explore our evolving self-awareness from the very earliest period in the Stone Age all the way to the present as we grapple with the new technologies that are coming now. So that briefly is the book.
Now, who are you writing for in this book? Who is your target audience?
It is a book written for anyone who is interested in the deep or big questions of humanity, if you will. People in theology will be interested in hearing it. People who respond to the big history, looking at where we have been, how we have evolved, would be interested, would be part of the audience. Evolutionary biologists would have an interest. So it is the audience are those people who are interested in the deep questions of our existence as a species. And it is written in fairly accessible language. It's not a technical book, nor is it academic. I try to weave through it storytelling as well as, just straightforward information on, that needs to be put forward. But the language is very accessible. So it is for the general reader, in a sense.
I hear you. So you sent me a section of the book to read, and I got the sense that it is more philosophical, that it is trying to bridge the gap between the sciences and
Yes.
literature, and
Yes.
maybe a little bit of physics, maybe a little bit of biology. And I wondered whether that is even possible.
Yes.
To do to bring all these subjects together.
All these together. Yes.
Yes.
It is a challenge, but the thing, we spend a lot of time in our own fields. Like, for example, physicists spend a lot of time doing physics, which is good because that tells us the structure of the universe, the physical universe, so we get to know that. Biologists tell us how we evolved into the species we have become. Theologians keep us reminded of our accountability. So all those fields, they are silos. People spend all their times doing that. We need someone who can bring them together into an integrated conversation, so that, because all those questions are trying to answer the same question: who are we, and how can we maintain ourselves and deal with the anxiety of our extinction? So my effort here is to try and draw on all of those. Not that I'm an expert in all of them, but draw from them and try to use that in trying to respond to the questions that I raise.
So then, given that you're a priest or a
Yes.
theologian, would you say this book is, what is your lens? What lens are you using? Is that the lens of a religious perspective, theological perspective, or how are you writing? What lens are you using?
I'm using, there's a term that I have coined, which is, I call it the anthropoterminal impulse or anthropoterminal consciousness, which is about the impulse we have as a living species, first of all, to survive and reproduce as all living things. But we have taken it a couple of stages beyond that to try and talk about the meaning of our existence in this universe. And in doing that, we have created the impression or the assumption that we are the central protagonists of the cosmic story, and that without us, the universe has no meaning. And so
Yes.
that's why it combines anthro, which is human, and terminus, which is end. The assumption is that without us, the universe ends. And that is what has motivated all our building cities and civilizations and
Mhm,
knowledge. They are
mhm,
all Mesopotamian. For example, if you look at artificial intelligence today with the
mhm,
problem of alignment, so many people are telling us, we have to align artificial intelligence because it's going to kill us. In
mhm.
fact, if anyone produces it, we all die. So it almost sounds as though we are the final chapter of the cosmic story. And so
Wow.
if we die, the cosmos ends. But I don't think that's the. So I'm using, in terms of, to respond to your question, what lens am I using?
Right.
I'm using that terminology or concept to try and explore how we came to where we are at this time. Yes.
All right.
So it's not a book of faith,
Right.
but it is a book. Maybe philosophy would be the most prominent aspect of.
Yeah, I get the impression that it sounded more philosophical than literary retelling of a story. But well, I haven't, I wouldn't say that I know much about that. But what I have known about philosophical
Mm,
literature, it
mm,
is almost like a series of endless questions that don't have any
yes.
answers. But
Yes.
yeah, I would like to invite you to take a
Mm.
minute and maybe an excerpt from the book. You're welcome to read an excerpt from the book.
Okay. I thought perhaps the most appropriate portion to read as an
Mhm.
excerpt be the introduction, so that, because not the whole introduction, just
Okay.
a part,
All
maybe a
right.
page.
All right. Feel free.
So it says, among the countless marvels of the universe, one of the most astonishing is that we are here, alive, aware, and capable of asking why. In a cosmos where silence and lifelessness dominate, the emergence of human consciousness breaks the silence of an indifferent cosmos, a fleeting spark of self-awareness in a seamless void. This moment of self-reflectivity, brief though it may be in the sweep of cosmic time, presents us with profound and disquieting questions. Who are we? How did we come to be? To what or whom are we accountable? And what does accountability mean in this regard? So that's just the opening paragraph.
Interesting enough. But what part of your personal beliefs
Yes.
is influencing the way you write the book? Are you basing this on your theological backgrounding or in your human experience?
I think more you were saying philosophy is about asking questions. So I think
Yes.
it would be more on the philosophical side of my training because I love questions. I don't necessarily like answers because answers can change all the time as we get more knowledge.
Yes.
But the question, a good question can lead you to discoveries that, you might not have had without that good question. So although my professional training is in theology, I have many questions about theology as well, not necessarily saying I don't believe in these things. So it's kind of schizophrenic, my life, in that when I'm a priest, I abide by the doctrines of the church.
Mhm.
But when I'm a philosopher thinking
Mhm.
for myself,
Mhm.
I question those doctrines and also what life is about. So this book is about those questions.
That's a very interesting place to be. When I first went to the University of Toronto, I was
Yes,
invited to audit classes. And so there was this class about cosmic, what was it? It was about the cosmos.
yes,
And the lecturer or the professor is a priest.
yes,
And so I wanted to see or to hear from him how he would rationalize
yes.
these two subjects. Because it's
Mm,
like he's almost wrestling with this subject, wrestling with each other. One is a
mm,
question of faith, believing and trusting that there's a creator who has ordered everything. Then the other
yes.
one is scientific. So
Mm,
I was so fascinated by that class. I sat there and I listened to the professor speaking. So I
mhm,
asked him, so when you go to class and you're talking about this, who are you?
mm,
Are you the professor of physics or are
yes,
you the priest or the theologian? So I'm asking you the same question. So who are
yes.
you right now?
Right now, I'm the author of a book that is about the big questions of humanity. When I'm in the church and leading a congregation, I
Hmm.
am within a community of people who speak a certain language.
Right.
And so I'm familiar with that language, so I facilitate those conversations. What might be shocking for some people is that when as I write, I do not necessarily subscribe to all the claims of doctrine because when I'm writing, I'm asking questions and trying to figure out answers. But when I'm confessing my faith, which has been handed down from generation in the past, and I receive it that way. Those are different conversations to deal with. So they're different language games, if you will. When
Right.
you are a philosopher, you speak as a philosopher. When you are a theologian, you speak as a theologian. When you are a confessing Christian, you speak a different language there as well.
I hear you. I hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to cut
So
you
I'm
short.
saying that I think we all like that somewhat. Take a for example. I don't play soccer. Do you know the game of soccer?
Yes, I love it. African
Have
football for me.
football. That's right.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
back home.
Yes.
Yes, it has its own rules, and if you're going to play, you
Uh-huh.
have to abide by those rules,
That's
even
right.
if you disagree with them when you are out off the field.
Yes.
But when you are in the field playing the game, so you have to abide by those rules so that
Mhm.
the game may be played. In the
I
same
see.
way, when I'm with in a community of faith among people who are confessing the faith, I
Right.
have to abide by the language game
Hmm.
of faith. But when I'm here trying to question things and understand humanity,
Hmm.
within a larger context, those beliefs and doctrines are subject to interrogation in the same way that I interrogate other pieces of knowledge.
I hear
So,
you.
yeah, that's why I'm saying it's a schizophrenic kind of way of living.
Multiplicity of personalities. Is that what you're trying to
Right.
say?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting way of putting it. But thank you for that. It actually makes it very clear in my head
Right.
about how you can adopt two personas
Yes.
and then you communicate in one language to one group of people and another language to another group of people. So that makes it's awesome. It must be difficult to do.
And it is not dishonesty because we all do that.
No.
Yeah, we are whichever language game you are
Hmm.
invited into, that's
Right.
what you do. Otherwise, people won't understand what you're saying. My language is Luganda. If I started talking in Luganda to a community of people who don't understand it, they will
Hmm.
say, "Don't what we hear is sound, but we don't know what
We
you're
don't
saying."
understand what you're saying. Yeah, right.
So I would have to switch and speak their language also.
Interesting. Thank you for that. So now let's talk about publishing. You
Yes,
said you have done several books, 4 books to be precise.
yes,
And
that's right.
the 3 books previously,
Mhm.
you did self-publish. And this one
Yes.
is being published by traditional publishers. So maybe take me a little back to the other titles. What are they? When were they published? Up to here, and then tell me how that is changing for you, the dynamic of self-publishing and then
Mm,
publishing with a traditional publisher.
yes. And I will explain it. I'm not sure whether this last one is a traditional publisher, but I will explain that
Okay.
shortly.
All right.
But I started with a small book called In God's Presence back in 2000, I think is when I put it out. It's a book of meditations and prayers in the context of my experience of Idi Amin's regime, especially in the days when he was almost about to be overthrown. And then I have another small book that I wrote, which I called Sojourner, and it was an exploration. It's kind of a fictitious book, but at the same time with a message in it of a gay person who is trying to cope with coming out as that, and how his family engages or the dynamics of coming out and the
Mhm.
tensions that those might create. So and that was back in 2003, I believe. And then I took my doctoral thesis and it, decided to publish it as a book, self-published, Belonging, which was dealing with the problem of racism. And then I hope you wouldn't think I'm preoccupied with that. My 4th book
Yes.
was Human Sexuality and Religion,
Okay.
because as an Anglican, we spent a lot of time with that topic. So I was
Hmm.
trying to help the Anglican Communion or Anglicans in general have a sense of, okay, how are we looking at this problem? And perhaps we need to take a different kind of approach. So those 4 books I published myself, and it was a question of getting some money and finding a printer and doing it
Were these
myself.
published in Uganda or were they published in Canada?
I was in Canada for all
By the
4.
time. Okay. Okay. I
Yes.
see.
So it wasn't. But in this case, with this book, I was a bit lucky. Someone I had an opportunity to read it and took a liking of it, someone with connection in the publishing industry. And then, so he told me, wrap up, what you're doing as quickly as possible and send it to me.
Hmm.
So this time, when I finished writing it in May, I sent it to him. And so it wasn't like submitting it to a traditional publisher.
Right.
I gave it to someone who took it. I don't know what connections he had to deploy in order to get it published. All of which to say, I don't know very much about publishing, but I was lucky this time that someone liked what they were seeing, and they decided to help me get it out to the public as quickly as possible.
Yes. So the book is launching today.
Yes,
So tell
yes.
me a little bit more about that. How long has it taken you to get here?
Well, I sent it to him in May. So he took it to a group, I think they're called Paper Raven Publishing Services, provided by Paper Raven's Books in the US. So what they do, they have someone who reads the manuscript all the way through, and then they can tell you whether it is a good book or not, or whether you need to make some changes and so on and so forth. When someone read through the manuscript, they said, well, this one actually needs to go to copy editing.
Okay.
So, someone else took it over, they read through it, and then there was a proofreader after that. And then, so there've been stages like that until now.
No, I meant to ask the question about your own work from when
Yes.
you started doing the research for the book to
Yes.
writing it and putting it together to
Yes.
having it now being launched today, I wanted to hear a
Yes.
little bit about the work that has gone into that.
Oh, okay. That's it has been a long time
Yes.
because I wanted to write a book of this kind back, I think 2013, 2014. And I tried, there were many trials and I started writing and I'll get to maybe page 50, page 60. I didn't know where I was going, so I had to drop it.
Yes.
And went back to the drawing board. But in 2018, I started writing this as it is now with some changes. So I would say that this book, I've been working on it from 2018, April 2018 to May 2025. So it has taken such a long time. I'm a slow writer. I
Mm-hmm.
write a page a day or even a couple of paragraphs a day. And there were times I went back to Uganda during COVID. I was trapped here. I wanted to go to Uganda. I was trapped here. And then once they opened up, I went back to Uganda and stayed there for 2 years. And so during that time were chunks of time when didn't have the time to really work on it, and there were no libraries. It was very difficult to get resources. But nevertheless, I continued writing from time to time. And then when I came back here, I, tried to finish the book.
Mm-hmm.
After there was a final chapter that does not appear here,
Mm-hmm.
and that be the chapter about faith. I decided against it because it would be too long and it also would take too long to finish. And I also, in the end, thought maybe it doesn't fit in this book. So what I decided is to write a kind of a manifesto, a theological manifesto, which I'm currently publishing as a column in the Anglican. That's the Diocese of Toronto newspaper.
This is very interesting. So, how big is the book? How long is it? You say you don't want it to be too long.
That's right. It's 350 pages as it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
If I had added another chapter, it would be maybe another 100 pages. So that would be going into 400, and it will get to a point where it is too long.
Yeah, 400-page book is daunting as it is.
Yeah,
So now,
that's
tell me, how does it compare, your experience compare with when you were self-publishing without
yeah.
any help and when you're publishing now with a publisher?
Yes.
How has that experience
Oh
been for you?
my God, light and day. Night and day, because back then
Yeah,
I was doing everything. You finish writing, then you go looking for a printer, you find a printer, you go to pick up the book, and then you try to sell the book yourself.
yes.
So it's really it's a very difficult task.
Mm,
Whereas here,
mm,
they are helping me do all the other thing. So this one is a much more professional piece of work because you find you don't have to do everything yourself. And so they are going to try and promote it on Amazon.
mhm.
And so it's totally different. And I prefer this, this to the other experience.
To the other experience. I have been talking to a lot of writers, a lot of them immigrants and a lot of them young.
Yes.
And what I keep hearing is that they don't want to work with traditional publishers because
Right.
of the rigors of publishing. Like you offer the book to this publisher, they say, okay, we don't like it, it doesn't fit our
Yes.
profile. Or you send the book to publisher, they say, no, go back and rewrite it, go back and edit it.
Mm,
So they don't want to do that. So a lot of these young publishers now are
mm.
embracing self-publishing.
Yes. Yes.
I have wondered about the quality
Mm.
of manuscripts or books that are actually getting into the hands of readers. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree 100% that self-publishing is the best way to go
Hmm.
because I may sound like contradict myself.
Yes.
Publishing, I don't think it's going to last for much longer
Hmm.
because you know they first of all it takes a long time. If I had submitted this to a traditional publisher, maybe it would come out 2028 or 29 because they already have
Yeah.
their schedules set up.
Yes.
But also the second thing is what you said.
Uh,
The time the book comes out,
right.
it has your name on it, but it's
Right.
not what you are trying to say
Yeah.
because they have different priorities.
Yes.
Yeah. In this case, I was lucky that this person decided to say, it's your book.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be, you make it what it is. We are going to help you with the editorial work on it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it will be your voice and everything. So we are not going to change anything.
Good
So,
to know.
and also for young writers,
Mm-hmm.
when you when I publish my earlier books, it sort
Mm-hmm.
of gives you some experience in the book industry, what it is about, because you need to find out from people how to get your book out there to the reader. So whereas if you are taking it to the traditional publisher, you just sit back and wait for them to do everything, and then they will call you, maybe come and do this or come and do that. It's not your project by
Uh-huh.
that
Uh-huh.
means. So
So now,
yes, I'm content with that.
okay, great. So now, tell me again, comparative analysis. When you have
Mm.
published earlier books by yourself, and then you're having to
Yes.
do the marketing, how was that for you? This is a money question. How much of your time goes into
Yeah.
selling the book so you can make
Yeah.
some money when you're doing it on
Yes.
your own? And what are your hopes and expectations for when you're doing it a different way?
Well, you spend a lot of time because you need to get out what you invest in. And
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, I was able to break even, but just barely break even. You can't count on. And so as a writer, I came to accept that I'm not writing for money. I write
Mm-hmm.
because I'm interested in to say something and for my voice to be out there. But I'm not an author who writes so that I may provide for myself through writing, because you couldn't do it. You could break even,
Mm-hmm.
but it was very difficult to keep on selling books beyond a certain point.
Uh-huh. You know, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that it's even being able to put your book out there, even if you are not able to break even, I would encourage young people to do that, because future generations are going to look back and they're going to say, what were these people thinking? And if you're among the people who wrote in your generation, your book is going to be read down the road, 20, 30, 100 years, 200 years. The words never, they're always there. So your voice continues. You as a writer, you must understand this, that your voice will continue beyond your life here on this earth. So
Interesting.
that's,
Interesting. Now, you tell me that, I speak to at least one writer every week.
yes,
And what I'm hearing is that they're not writing for money. And
right,
yet, there are people like me, I'm a journalist by training. That is my
right.
trade. That is a
Yes,
career. I write for a
yes,
living. So,
yes.
what can you tell those of us who actually write for a living? Because I don't want to work for no money. I don't want to
No,
write for no money. I want to make a
mm,
living. And I
yes,
feel the struggle that younger people are having
mm,
is that they want to give their best
mm,
and put this time,
yes,
effort, and money into their writing so that they
mm,
can make a career out of it. But
that's
here
right.
comes the older, maybe wiser,
Mm.
older authors who are telling them, if you're doing this for money, you better quit. What would you
Well,
say?
actually, no, I'm not saying you should quit. For me,
Yeah.
I admire people like yourself who
Yeah.
are writing
Yes.
a living, because it's not that I don't like it. I would
No.
like to be able to write for, and get paid for it. And I'm sure every author would want that. The
Hmm.
problem is that the competition, there's so many books out there that it's very difficult to expect that you're going to make a breakthrough and have your book be the runaway bestseller, which sells millions of copies, so that
Hmm.
then you may be able to live on that.
Right.
But in your case as a journalist, you
Hmm.
are able to write and then get paid for it. It's a wonderful thing. And the problem with me is that I'm a very slow writer, and part of that is I keep second guessing myself, like I write something today and tomorrow I read through it. It's not good at all. So I put it aside. But for you as a journalist, if you're writing on a deadline, you have to put it out there. So I
Yes.
assume that you are accustomed to getting writing quickly and writing and getting, your what you need to write and putting it out there.
Yes.
So, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I should stop writing, because
Yeah.
like you said, it's a disease.
It's a
It's a
calling. It
calling.
is something.
It's
It
a
keeps
calling.
begging you, and you
That's
must
right.
bring it out. So you talk about competition. Yes, that is the reality that now we are competing not just against humans, but now
Right.
we even have AI
Oh,
that is also
yes.
producing books. So, what makes your writing stand
Mm,
out? Why would
right.
I pick a book written by you and maybe not an AI
Right.
written material that is telling me maybe the same story in a different language? What makes you
Right.
stand out? And what would you advise someone
Mm,
writing who wants to stand out and
yeah.
tell a good story?
You have touched on a topic that is causing all of us
Mm.
people who are writing, I think, headaches because we know maybe, and I should say that part of the reason why I wanted to get this one out as quickly as possible. I don't know whether by 2028 we will be having books written by human beings. I don't know.
Yeah,
But for me, the reason that motivated me to keep going,
right.
first of all, when I started writing,
Hmm.
there was no ChatGPT, there was no, so we didn't know anything about, you know, AI writing. But also because I think you write because you have something to say, preferably something new to say. And in my case with this book, I felt that I had to address this assumption
Hmm.
that we are the center of the universe. And the assumption that and that is anthropocentrism, is that we are the center. But my own concept is about not only are we the center, but we think that when we end, meaning itself ends. And that to me was something that I was not hearing anyone say. But at the same time, when I look at where we are and what we are doing, and it all revolves around us needing to postpone our extinction.
Or maybe to control things.
That it's part of the control. We want to control and dominate the universe so that we may continue to be.
Uh,
Whereas
yeah, go
we
ahead.
are just like, I can imagine that Homo erectus, our ancestor, when there came a point when they realized that a new species was emerging, and they wanted to stop that because they didn't want to become extinct. So in the same way, we too are trying to stop the evolutionary process because we don't want to become extinct.
Interesting. Now, you seem to have a knack for difficult topics because
Mm,
you just mentioned to me earlier that you have written another book about the
mm,
discourses around religion and
yes,
sexuality or gender.
that's right.
How do you navigate this? This very they're controversial topics.
Yeah,
They are
that's right.
also very emotive because a lot
Mm,
of people take things around religion, sexuality, and even the existence of humans and how we came about and where we are going very personally. So, how do
right.
you
Yeah.
navigate that kind of arena?
Yes. Just to let you know that what I was doing before my retirement
Hmm.
was to work for the Anglican Church of Canada to help conversations between Canadian and African bishops
Right.
to talk about particularly the issue of sexuality because that has divided the church. So I wrote that book in order to address those issues, to address the issues that the church was dealing with in a way that maybe perhaps can bring people to the table to talk. But, to go back to what I was saying earlier, when you look at everything that we do, it
Hmm.
is about us in the universe.
Right.
And it's about us thinking that the universe revolves around our story, which is not true. I mean, wouldn't
Yeah. Well, the jury is still out, but but yeah, I think I agree with you somehow. Yes.
we are going to become extinct and another species will emerge,
Uh-huh.
which is, and I think for me, and something that I say in my book, I have a chapter there
Mm.
trying to say, I think what we need to do is to be good ancestors. In Africa, we have the principle of ancestor.
Yes.
And I think we need to learn to be a good ancestor to our descendants because
Mhm.
our ancestors did not bequeath values to us. We might not have been here. So we need to be, so for me, I think that even with artificial intelligence, as
Mhm.
it comes, our knee-jerk reaction is to try and control it and try and say, it's going to kill us if we don't. No,
Mm-hmm.
let's take the parent offspring model and say, okay, this is our offspring. We want it
Mm-hmm.
to go off and be whatever it wants to be, but we can't determine what it's going to be.
Interesting. So, what do you think? How do you think our end is going to come? Are you one of those people who think about global warming, for example, and a big apocalyptic end of the human race? What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know how we are going to end, I guess, if I may say.
Mm-hmm.
I know at some point we are going to become extinct, but I don't know how it's going to happen. So the question is, what is our responsibility in terms of looking at the future? We can decide to say we are going to fight to the last man to see that we stay in control, but we can't do that.
Yeah.
The more we fight, the more we pollute the world. So what you need to do is to be like a grandfather or a parent and say, okay, what is my responsibility here? I need to leave this child in a world that he or she is going to be able to survive in. And then he or she will continue to do what is best. Yesterday, if I may just, am I talking too much?
No, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yesterday, we were celebrating All Saints' Day within the Anglican tradition. And that is about celebrating, the saints of the past, and not just the big saints that we know, whose names we know, but also people we didn't know about, but whose love and faith and commitment played a part in shaping who we are now alive. We are also saints preparing for the generation yet to come. So there's a whole chain of sainthood. And I think that is the same thing. I don't know when I'll die.
Right.
But I'm trying to do my best and to do the responsible thing so that
Before.
my children or grandchildren and so on
Mm-hmm.
would inherit the values that I've passed over to them.
Interesting. So, do you tackle that subject in the book that is launching today?
Yes, I do have a section there where I talk about, the problem of artificial general intelligence and the alignment problem.
Okay.
And I'm trying to say that the approach is self-defeating because we are trying to control what we can't.
Mm-hmm.
Already, artificial intelligence is showing that in many things, it's going to be more intelligent than us. How can you control something that is going to be thinking faster than you do? So what you
And
do,
yet humans are the makers of the AI.
yes,
I'm like, you can't have AI without
humans.
humans. So it's a chicken and egg situation. So I will be like, in my mind and in my thoughts, I'm like, AI cannot exist without us because we teach AI how to write.
Hmm.
And yet it's threatening to end us. So how do you deal with that, Quagmire?
Well, I have a daughter who is now 40,
Yes.
and she's an economist. I'm not an economist.
Mm.
So when I raised her up and I sent her to school, she studied, she decided to go and become an economist. Now, I could have said, okay, I don't want you to make any decisions without consulting me in anything, even at your job, because I don't trust you to make the right decisions.
Uh-huh.
I have to let her go and be the best economist that she's going to be. And now she has a son.
Mm.
I'm hoping that she's going to behave in the same way, raise the son, give him all that he needs and the values that he will need, and then let him go. And then the son will go and become the best, whatever he chooses to be. The same way, yes, I would not exist without us any more than my daughter would exist without me. But that doesn't mean that I have to control what AI does, because imagine what will happen if we insist on remaining in control. If AI supersedes our capacity to think
Mm.
and our capacity for morality and all the things that we deal with, if we prescribe our DNA in terms of what our limits to artificial intelligence, it will always, even when we become extinct, it will always be trying to replicate what humans can do rather than explore new frontiers. So I think we need to relax and let it be and be good ancestors and say, go ahead, my child, do your best in this world.
Interesting. So I hear you saying that you're preaching the gospel of be a good steward, do the
Yes,
best that you can, and then let
yes.
go. Lose control, leave it alone, let it go, because you're not in control of that. So in my mind, I
You have
am
read
now,
my book. You have read exactly my terminology, being a good steward and
yes.
letting. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm thinking about that too, and wondering whether you can see similarities between I now and God from where you sit as a theologian and a priest. Can you
Hmm.
see any similarities between AI and God?
No,
Something humongous, something big, something that is soon enough going to be out of control?
no, I don't. And the reason being is
Mm,
that because we, at this point, we have defined God in our own terms so that God is interested in our story. But God is whatever we call God is a much bigger entity than us. And
right.
AI is included within that.
Hmm.
Who knows exactly what God is any more than because we are trying and that's why I call my subtitle is reclaiming the mystery of being in the world, because science at one point after Isaac Newton promised us that we are going to have absolute knowledge about the cosmos, that we are going to know everything, that if we have all the data and we compute it, we might be able to tell the future, the past, everything we will know,
Hmm.
until quantum physics came and everything was mysterious again.
Right.
So, in the same way with artificial intelligence, I don't see it as God.
Hmm.
I see it as an offspring that comes from us in the same way that we came from Homo erectus. They created fire and we as Homo sapiens inherited that and improved on whatever technology was created by our ancestors. So artificial intelligence, if it's the next thing,
Hmm.
is going to change the world, and it is inheriting the mind, the human mind, but I wouldn't say it is necessarily the God that we worship. I think God is
Hmm.
something entirely different and probably nothing that we can ever understand.
So now, a very interesting concept here. So
Mhm.
you don't even believe in the creation story, do you?
Whose creation story? The biblical
Well,
one or my
yeah, the
tradition?
biblical creation story. You don't
How
even
about
believe in that.
how about my people's creation story? We do have a
Tell me
creation
about
story.
that. Tell me about that. This is a
Yeah.
whole Pandora's box. You open that and we go down a rabbit hole. So tell me a little bit about that.
In my tradition, there is
Yeah.
a man called Kintu who came from heaven.
Yes.
God sent him here on earth uh, with a wife here. And
Yeah.
then, as they were coming to earth, his wife, called Nambi, forgot a basket of millet or something. And so he went back to heaven. And when he got back to heaven, the devil saw that, hey, where are you going? I'm coming with you. And so the devil came back with the Nambi. That
Are
is a
you? This
creation.
is a Ugandan creation story.
Yes, yes. That is how
Wow.
that is our creation story. So the Bible has its own creation story, or every culture has a creation story. But that is only to reminds us that we as human beings
Right.
are asking our question, who are we? Where did we come from? And we have to have a narrative. So it's not necessarily that I don't believe in that creation story in the Bible. I see it for what it is. It is a
Yeah.
symbolic story and a poem
Hmm.
that enables me to connect with, the message of the Bible and
Right.
then carry. But, otherwise I would have to say that we have been around for only 6,000 years, because that's what the Bible says, that human beings have been here for 6,000 years and have not evolved from any other species. I would rather go with science on this one.
I think you're going to be losing some followers next
No,
Sunday when you go to church and you have to preach. They will be like, we don't agree with that.
but I'm also very good at being a pastor, because that's a profession and I have to do it well and to keep people together. And it is always better when you understand where religion came from.
Right.
You're able to practice it better than if you think you take it literally.
Ah,
Then, in fact, in my book, I explain at length how we became, where the religious instinct began to enter our discourse, so that we know, okay, that's why we are religious.
what chapter is that in the book?
It's quite early on in the book,
Mhm.
as I try to explain how we became self-aware as a species and how we separated ourselves from nature and began to reflect upon it and to wonder about the world and to say, okay, how is it that the world provides for us? And so we need to placate the nature so that it may continue to. So we
Yeah,
became
could
religious.
you tell me that thought in a nutshell,
Which
in a
one?
few words, how that thought forms even in the book?
We were nature from the beginning. Yeah. Concern was about surviving and reproducing as all living things, because the universe is trying to kill us off at every chance it gets. But as we continue to, when we became hunters and gatherers, and we were able to accumulate enough surplus to be able to spend some time reflecting and thinking, we began to become, about 60,000 years, we began to develop the capacity to reflect and to think. And that's why you see a lot of caves with pictures on the walls. People are beginning to think in abstract terms. So through that process of reflection and acting and eating and doing and then going back to rest and thinking and sharing stories, we began to think about the universe or the world, the earth, as conscious. Maybe we need to placate the earth so that it may continue to provide us, because it can also turn against us and
Mhm.
kill us.
Mhm.
And it's that dialogue between the earth as a conscious being and ourselves as conscious beings that is the genesis of the religious instinct, because then we knew that there is a dialogue going on between us and nature. And then, so by the time you have the Mesopotamian civilizations, all new structures have been created where we have an invisible structure which controls the visible one. So I also go through the process of how that happened. So yes,
It's really,
that
really
is
amazing and very, very, very interesting topic of discussion. So,
with
if you would tell me in very few words to our listener, how first of all, do you consider yourself a successful author? And
mm.
what are the maybe 5, 3, 4 things that you could tell someone wanting to grapple with such complex topics and tell stories that people will understand? What must they do?
Well, in terms of success, I think it depends on how you define success. Some people would define success in saying, I sold so many copies of
Hmm.
my book, so
Right.
yeah, I'm successful. I think I'm successful because I've stuck with it. Like I told you, I was 15 when I first took in my article and it was published, and
Right.
then got rejections after rejections after rejections. But because I stayed with it to my age now, where I'm 67, but I'm still writing, then I would say I'm successful in that regard.
When you write about such complex topics, what
Hmm,
would you tell somebody who wants to write, also maybe grapple with such difficult topics and write
hmm.
well so that they can be understood and read? What advice would you have?
I think it goes back to what I was saying, that me, I love questions. I love to be asking questions all the time.
Hmm.
I don't spend a lot of time with answers. And so when I ask questions, I'm not looking for answers, because answers can change anytime. And when you ask a question that brings up an answer quickly, it doesn't help you to dig deeper. So I would ask people who are trying to do this is to learn to ask questions about life, about our existence in the world, about anything, deep, deep, deep questions, because those then will get you to think, and maybe even, some people may think that you are crazy, but you're trying to explore
Yeah,
dimensions of reality that other people may just glaze over and they don't worry about. So questions, keep asking questions is what I
I
ask.
hear you. I hear you. So remain curious, prepared to be called
Yes,
crazy if you have to, and
right.
don't write for money. That is what I hear you
Well,
telling us.
exactly. don't go out looking for money, because now AI is going to be better as a writer. But
I hear you. Yeah.
if you keep asking questions,
Right.
even AI won't beat you, because your role will be to keep raising questions, and then maybe AI could provide answers, and then you
Mhm,
keep raising questions about those answers. You
mhm.
still have a role. You still have a role.
I hear you. So me, I believe in the unique power of the human voice.
Yes,
And I'll be like, human nature is such that I resonate with you because I'm talking to you and you're human. When
right.
I
Yes.
write for a human being and you read what I have written, I
Mm.
resonate with that because we
Yeah,
carry empathy. We communicate to the senses. And
that's
that
right.
is something that AI can never achieve. So I feel like we are still here to do more and we can. What are your
I,
last words?
I would agree completely with that. That we as humans have
Yeah,
to maintain that kind of solidarity, because it's like with everything. If I was reading a novel written by artificial intelligence, the
right.
reading may be superb. But if there was another book written by a human being, at this point, I would be more interested in reading the book by a human being, because that one I would know not only what went into it, but that the experience was authentic. Now,
Right.
I'm speaking as a human, again, because of that anthropoterminal impulse. I'm still thinking that maybe humans are the center of things, but maybe that won't always be the case.
I hear you. So then, if I wanted to buy your book or anybody listening to us would like to buy a copy, where do we find it?
I think it is on Amazon. Today it will be up on Amazon .ca and .com. So for people who order books in bulk, like bookstores and all that, there is Ingram Spark is the company which usually sells to bookstores around the world. But for ordinary people, I think Amazon.ca, and the title is Cosmic Disposition.
I think that's a good point to end it. Thank you so much, Mr. Kawuki Mukasa, for making the time to talk to us. And for
Thank
our listeners, if you like what you have just heard, if you enjoy our content, find us on YouTube or Spotify or wherever it is that you get your podcast. I am your host, Wanja Gathu, and I'm saying goodbye for today. Bye. Thank you for
thank
making the time.
thank you very much too.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot. Bye.